Good evening and welcome to How to Conduct a Successful Show and Sell. Tonight we're just going to go through a couple things real quick on some of our best practices on how to conduct a successful show and sell with the popcorn sale. Our focus tonight really are 5 objectives. 1, how do we go about scheduling a show and sell? 2, what's the best way to plan for one? 3, how do we actually conduct a show and sell? 4, what kind of training should we use with our scouts? And 5, just a list of some of the best practices from other units in how to put together the most successful show and sell possible. Let's start with scheduling. Where do we schedule and when do we schedule? Pretty simply, we schedule as soon as we possibly can. When we think about the many things that are going on in the fall, back to school, fall sports, we want to make sure that we're at the front of that. So as soon as we can try to get into schedule for any event, we want to get on their schedule. So if we know that we want to get scheduled early, where do we schedule? So there's a lot of great places to schedule your show and sell at. Many of our big box department stores allow scouts, allow groups to stand outside. Family-owned markets locally have been fantastic supporters, and they've allowed our scouts to stand and sell outside. But some of the best places are not necessarily those places that everyone uses. Really, the best places are the places that are most heavily trafficked. Some scouts, some units have had success selling at local community fairs, local community events. Those are great times when the community comes out. The communities come out already in support of the community and those organizations in the community. So it makes a lot of sense for scouts to be there selling popcorn. Really trying to be creative in the places that you go so that there's fewer pieces of competition is really the best way to go. So I would suggest as you're getting ready to put your show and sell together, somewhere visible, somewhere that's got a lot of traffic, individuals in and out, and try to, as you've identified, get them scheduled as soon as you possibly can. What day of the week is best for a show and sell? Well, really, you can do whatever day of the week that you want. You can run show and sell Sunday through Saturday if you'd like. Really, most units prefer to do it on the weekend just because it's easier to get people out. But there seems to be a lot more availability during the week because most folks do choose the weekend. So really, you're going to have to work with whatever venue works for you, plus whatever works with your scouting families to determine what's going to be the absolute best time of day of the week to schedule your show and sells. So we're going to plan a show and sell. We need to come up with our game plan. How is it going to work? So it really starts with your unit at your kickoff. Your unit should have had a kickoff or is going to have a kickoff, and you need to communicate all the pieces of your kickoff plan or your popcorn plan, and part of those includes when are your show and sells going to be, and explaining to parents what a show and sell actually is. So from the kickoff, we want to make sure that we get off on the right foot. At the kickoff, it would be great if you've got all your locations already determined and people can sign up there. When we say sign up, it may mean for multiple shifts. It may be for 2-hour shifts. It may be for whatever's going to work out best for you. We also want to make sure that at the kickoff we get the unit buy-in. We don't want the popcorn colonel to be the only person there selling popcorn. We need the other family members, the other leaders, the other scouts, to get buy-in into this event to make sure that they're there to support it. Also, as we're planning show and sells, inventory management becomes important. If you've got multiple show and sells, multiple different places, and some of them going on simultaneously, you've got to make sure that you've got product at each one of them. We also need to determine how are scouts going to make their money off of a show and sell. So there are a number of different ways, and we'll talk about those as we go on here. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what other things you should bring to the show and sell. So here's a couple comments on our kickoff. Let's make sure our kickoff is fun. but make sure that while we're talking about it, we talk about why we do the show and sell and how we do it. Is your show and sell a traditional show and sell where you set up in front of a store? Is it a wagon dragon show and sell where you actually take the product from house to house? But you want to make sure that everyone knows the plan, know how it works, and get everybody to sign up and be a part of the plan. Inventory management. One of the things we talk about with show and sell is it's best to have the products that are going to move the quickest. So our small caramel corns, our microwave products, $15 products, and a couple $20 products really round things out and really are your best mix for your inventory. Inventory gets to be a little bit tricky depending on what type of show and sell and how many you're doing. If you've only got one show and sell and that's going to be your one location that you've got folks going to, it's easy to have all the product there. You just want to make sure that you have enough product that you don't run out. But if you've got two separate locations going, or if you're giving each scout a certain amount of popcorn to go out and sell, it's really important that you keep track of what scouts have, what families have, and what the clear instructions are as to who's taking it to the location, who's bringing it back. So simple things to think about, but we've got to make sure that in order to be successful, we've got enough product, right place, and that scouts and families are able to move that product back and forth. So one of the most common questions with planning a show and sell is who makes what. Some units do count whatever sales happens while the boy is standing there, count towards that individual sales. One of the challenges with that, however, is, as we've got noted on the screen, is not all shifts are created equal. If we're going to be out in front of Lowe's or we're going to be out in front of Walmart, and we're going to start early in the morning and we're going to go until maybe in the evening, we're going to find that maybe first thing in the morning and our last shift at night are going to be our slowest, or maybe around lunchtime, early in the afternoon, maybe our most busy times. And we want to make sure that it's fair for all the scouts. Maybe they can only do mornings or only do evenings, but we want everyone to participate. So I know that a number of units have taken and come up with a essentially per hour rate. So they take all the dollars that were raised that day, and then they figure out how many hours were volunteered or how many hours were scouts actually out there. So if a scout's out there for 3 hours, those are 3 units. And then we count, if we've got 10 scouts that have been out there for 3 hours apiece, that's 30. So we take all of that and we come up with a per hour rate. So that scout then who's worked for 3 different hours gets whatever that hour rate is times 3. It's not the only way to do it. I think it's a good way to do it, and I think we've seen success in that and sharing some of that wealth. Certainly there's something to be said for Scout being able to take what he gets while he's there. But thinking about the whole unit, we want to make sure that the guys who are filling in the early parts of the day and the late part of the day when traffic might be slower still get the benefit from the sale. As we go for planning a sale, here's a couple ideas of things to bring and what not to bring. So items to bring include plenty of product, change or cash box. We want to make sure that we're able to make change. The scouts should know what they're doing. It's something that you should have practiced or at least gone over with the scouts, how to make change and do all the basics, please, thank you, and making sure that the scouts are courteous as they go through the sale. Having a sign showing what your unit is not a bad idea at all. Certainly some sort of cover, an easy up or a tent that fits in your location helps to attract people in with that visibility, but certainly also keeps the sun off or gives a little extra protection if the weather is not great. If you're with your table or tables, if you're participating in a square reader program, you want to have your square reader there. It's also good to have joint scouting information. As folks are coming by, not a bad idea to have maybe some pictures of what your pack or your troop does and ways to join your unit or how to get involved with scouting somewhere local. A typical shift should have 2 to 3 uniformed scouts and responsible adults with them. Some ideas of things not to bring are chairs. We don't want the scouts sitting behind the table while the show and sell is going on. We want them out and being engaged with the folks who are potentially going to buy product. So we don't want them to have chairs and be seated out of the way. We want them to be standing and engaging. Video games, other distractions, absolutely things that we don't want. We want the scouts to be paying attention to what's going on, and it's going to certainly put a better face forward and increase the likelihood of a sale. Chocolate products, any of the chocolate products should stay out of your show and sell if it's particularly hot out. If it's a nice cool day, there's nothing wrong with bringing the chocolate products along. But the chocolate products, if they get melted, they are not able to be returned. So please make sure that you keep an eye on your chocolate products. Some units keep them in a cooler just to keep them out of the direct sun. All good ideas. iPods, radios, all tie into the video games and distractions. Those types of things should not be there. The only thing that I would say, and we've seen in the last couple of years, are using potentially an iPad or a laptop to show different things that the unit is doing. Pieces like that can help enhance the sale certainly are welcome, but things that are going to serve as a distraction, we should leave at home. And then we shouldn't break open the microwave packs, the cheese lovers collection, or the sweet and savory collection. Those are meant to be sold all as a unit, and those packets that once they're open can't be returned to the office. So please make sure that you keep all those packets together and sell them as a unit. So conducting a show and sell. I've actually got a couple of slides here of some units from across the country, actually, who I think have done a pretty good job in setting up a show and sell, and give you an example or some examples of what to do when you're putting your product out for the public to see. So looking at this first one of the things I really like about this is they've got a great sign in the background, a very nice sign that is support Cub Scouting. And then they've got a nice layout of all their different products and have them set out on the table for everyone to see. This is probably one of my favorite slides because I think this, if I were setting up a show and sell today, this would be the ideal way to set it up. Guys are standing at a little higher table than normal. Definitely helps to almost like a countertop that you might find in the store that definitely helps to bring the height of the product up closer to the individual, but also allows the scout to feel comfortable standing next to or behind the table when he needs to go back and talk about a product or get more product. I think it's set up very neatly. They've got a tablecloth on there. They've got a sign. You can kind of see the easy up that they've got. The scouts are both in uniform. They look very presentable. They've got smiles on their faces. Excellent way to set up a show and sell. You don't have to have 100 products on the table. That's not necessary. Just having some products out there for people to see is a great idea. Having that product underneath that it's easy to get to, quick to shift out once people purchase it, another great thing. So this is one of the ideal models, examples for setting up a show and sell. Here's another good example. This is a little bit smaller space the scouts got, but also has a smaller amount of product. So I think this is another one to take a look at. If you see on his sign, he's got his butter popcorn, his caramel corn. He's got kettle corn, cheese popcorn, and butter light. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 products that he's offering. It's a lot easier to manage that and go through there. A couple other things to think about. Showed a couple good examples of how to set up the show and sell, but a couple other things to think about is youth protection in keeping scouts safe while they're at the show and sell. One is our scouts should never be there unattended. We need to have leaders there, parents there, all the time while a show and sell is happening. We should also make sure that those parents are engaged in what's going on. We certainly want the scouts to take the leadership. We want the scouts to be the ones actually doing the selling. We want those parents to keep an eye on what's happening. If we've got a money box there, if we've got a credit card reader there, they may need to step in and make sure that those things get taken care of. The other thing that we've talked about is that with our recent membership discussions, there is a tendency for scouts to be approached by individuals who want to discuss policy. Those are things that really aren't appropriate to be discussed with the scouts. And our unit leaders or our parents who are there should be ready to take someone, an adult like that, who may have a comment off to the side and refer them back to the Pennsylvania Dutch Council. We also want to make sure that our scouts, because they may be in front of a building like that, a very public place, that they are just safe as they go about. We don't want them out running around, fooling around, especially in front of a lot of those stores. There's a lot of traffic. So we want to make sure that our scouts are mindful of those things and that our adults who are there are mindful of that as well. So in preparing for a show and sell, one of the things that we need to do is certainly train our scouts. We want to make sure that our scouts, like I said before, are out front and are engaged. One of the things that we can do is to help with that is to make sure that the scouts have a good sales pitch, a good couple sentences to explain to folks why they're trying to sell. So this is a very, very brief, simple, but I think very good template for a scout's approach when they go to a potential customer. Simply goes, hi, my name is, and I'm a Cub Scout with Pack 100. I'm selling so I can go to camp. I have a goal of $1,000. Can you help me reach my goal by trying some of my popcorn? Will you help me? And I think, just those couple things, we try to capture who the scout is, where they're from, why they're selling popcorn, that they have a goal and why they have a goal, and they're asking for those folks to help. Sounds a lot better than if a scout just comes up and says, hey, you want to buy some popcorn? So I think making sure that our scouts are trained in this is important. It's something that we can tie right into our kickoff. It's certainly our most successful units, our most successful scouts have a similar, if not the same, approach when they're speaking to potential customers. The other thing that we talk about when we train our scouts is not only on what to say, but in how the setup should look. So we want to train them in what our products are and how they should appear on the table. When someone asks about the microwave products, the scout should be able to talk a little bit about the unbelievable butter. It has more butter than the Butter Light. That the caramel corn is pre-popped, and they just need to know a little bit about their product. It's always, I think, I've seen where consumers have come up and said, hey, what's your favorite product? And the scout tells them what their favorite product is, and they buy that favorite product. So I think it's good for our scouts to have a good working knowledge of the product. We should also think about placement. As product gets sold, the scouts should be there trying to fill that product back in. Why it's important for things to look nicely or look nice on the table for potential consumers. Scouts should also be mindful of their manners, saying please, saying thank you, being courteous with folks as they come up to the table. We also want them to know how to handle a no. Sometimes it's tough for a scout to, they think popcorn's the best thing in the world and everyone out there should be buying. And we know that that's not always the case, and some folks will say no. And we need our scouts to be prepared for that and to be ready to move on to the next person coming in and be ready to go. Our scouts should also know how to handle money and change. Fortunately, with this, we're dealing mostly with dollars as far as change as opposed to actually coin change, but we want them to be able to make change for the sales. So if someone is buying a unbelievable pack of butter for $18 and they're given a $20 bill, making sure that each of those scouts knows what they're supposed to do, and then a parent can kind of keep an eye on how that's going on. As far as credit cards go, I would say as far as the scouts are concerned on a Cub Scout level, is the Cub Scout should be prepared to say that credit cards are available if someone says that they don't have any cash. I think at the Boy Scout level, our Boy Scouts certainly are going to be more capable of using the credit card machine, but that's not to say our Cub Scouts absolutely won't be able to, but I think they should have parent supervision when they're doing that. And then, like we said before, just be mindful of behavior. It's a safety thing as well as an appeal for folks to participate in the sale. So just to talk real quick about some best practices. I think some of our best practices from folks are making sure that you schedule in creative places and schedule early. Practice with your scouts and the speech that they're going to give and how the show and sell actually works. Encourage your scouts to be persistent. Work through those no's. There's not going to be a yes every time, so they need to be prepared for that no that's going to come and know what they're going to do in reaction to that. We want the scouts to be visible, like we showed in some of those key pictures, being out in front of the table, being able to be seen, and being able to be engaged very easily. We want to make sure that we've got enough product. We also want to make sure, don't be afraid to give the council office a call if you start to run out of product. We don't want you to go to your last show and sell and only have 2 cases of something left. We want to make sure that you've got all the product left as you're going through the show and sell if you start in September or if you're doing it the 3rd week of October. So make sure that you've got enough product on hand. Be mindful of your product selection. You don't need to carry the whole product selection. Just your top-selling things really are the best things to carry in your show and sell. Set time blocks. Folks have recommended that you allow scouts and families to sign up for 2-hour time blocks. Now, they can do 2 hours back to 2 hours and then another 2 hours back to back. That's up to them. But 2 hours allows the scouts to stay focused, allows the scouts to be more engaged. When you get scouts there for 4 or 6 or a whole day, it gets to be really, really time-consuming. We recommend that you participate in the Square credit card program. It's a really great program. It doesn't cost the unit anything up front to participate in, and it's really a great way to help turn some of those potential no's into potential yeses. And then the last thing is a great thing to do is do some follow-up. What we've seen both with the show and deliver, show and sell, and take order is that we've had units come up with a little sign like this. This is from Pack 58. They came up with a little business card to say, hey, if you'd like to order more popcorn, give us a call. Or if you'd like to order more popcorn, you can check us out online. This is a really great way to help continue and make those sales happen year over year. I hope this was a helpful couple-minute tutorial going through how the show and sell works and some best practices with the show and sell. Hopefully this will help you to increase the show and sell or get your show and sell off and running for this year for the first time. If you've got any questions beyond what we covered here tonight, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 717-553-4201 or shoot us an email at padutchpopcorn@gmail.com. Thank you.